This was the same question we posed at him, that some of his supporters were deceiving him and saying, yes, he answered the fire ban. Because we say you have no integrity. But these were the things you said, and now you're saying he's in opposition. Politics does not mean you lie. So does it mean that you were telling porkies to the people you were telling those things to?
This particular case, I think there is an error of judgment on the part of Daniel Bwala. He said in negotiation about the interview took about 6 months, and he was told he was going to address specific subjects about the performance of the Tinubu administration with specific emphasis on security, poverty, and corruption. But then he got there and he was ambushed. Okay, now that excuse does not wash. If he had been following the program stated by, anchored by Mehdi Hassan, he would know that he's a very biased, conflicted, controversial anchor. People say it is style, but some people will say, well, it's bad journalism. If we check his history, you see that he tends to turn his guests into a straw person. He tries to lie by omission, and he tries to intimidate you. Now, some people will say it's style, but it looks like bad journalism, because this inquisitorial approach, once you already have an opinion about the subject, why invite the guest? Yes. You might as well stay on the screen and express all opinions yourself. He has had issues with regard to abortion, with regard to LGBTQ communities, with regard to Gaza, with regard to his mischaracterization of Muslims. And so he himself is as controversial as anybody else can be. The anchor didn't even allow him to speak.
Daniel Bwala was caught in a web of lies on Al Jazeera's head-to-head program hosted by Mehdi Hassan in an episode titled Nigeria, Renewed Hope or Hopelessness. Hassan presented Bwala with his own statements from 2023 when he was a spokesperson for Atiku Abubakar, including allegations of corruption, vote buying via bullion vans, militia creation, and death threats from Tinubu's camp. Well, Bwala flatly denied making any of the allegations. Well, Al Jazeera released the edited version of the interview with complete archival clips of Daniel Bwala alleging that Tinubu created a militia to influence his votes and that he received death threats from Tinubu's camp. Let's take a look.
Tinubu is one of the foremost politicians in Nigerian history.
Tinubu and his people created a militia. Who said those words, Daniel?
Tinubu has helped in strengthening democracy in Nigeria.
Tinubu and his people created a militia, Daniel. Who said those words?
Tinubu brought in leadership skills into governance.
Tinubu and his people created a militia. Who said those words?
Tinubu and his people never created the militia.
So why did you say they did on January 22nd, 2023?
I never said that.
The candidate of all progressive Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his people created a militia. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria we're seeing a political party creating a militant arm leading to election.
Does he have a militia that tried to kill you?
He doesn't have. I never said he tried to kill me.
We have seen violence in Nigeria, and I myself have received threats from him and his camp. Your words.
I never said that.
There is also this threat to life, and I can tell you that because I myself have received threats from Asiwaju and his camp.
You said it was so corrupt, the 2023 election, Tinubu's win. You said that you couldn't eat food for 3 days.
I never said that. Where?
And legitimate complaints were raised all over Nigeria. That part is what threw me off balance. In fact, I became so sick. For the past 3 days, I found it very hard eating food.
Tinubu is not just super rich. It's what he does with his wealth. In 2019, 2 armored money trucks, bullion vans, were seen going into his house, coming out of his house. Where did that money go?
No. Point, did you see the money? Or those who reported, did they see money inside the bullion van?
Was there no money in the bullion vans?
How am I to know?
You said it was money in the vans at the time, 2023, February.
But there's only one person in Nigeria who is alleged to have moved money through bullion vans, and that person is on their ballot as the presidential candidate.
On the eve of the presidential elections, 2 cash-laden bullion vans, your words, were seen on the premises, which was ostensibly for vote buying. Your words, January 2023.
Have
you just disowned everything you've said in order to work for this president?
What you just said now, I want to put it on record, on my own honor. That's not what I said.
Well, in a post-interview statement, Bwala accused Hassan of opposition research-style journalism, insisting his earlier remarks were simply the job of opposition. And I'll read Daniel Bwala's statement in part. He wrote, "When I signed on the privileged job granted to me by Mr. President, I was well aware of its implications. Selling ice cream, looking fine, and seeking the praises of men were never part of it. Some of the fiercest critics of my interview cannot even stand local TV anchors. But the task of promoting and defending the president and his administration is what I do with ease and joy. Head to Head contacted me requesting an interview, stating that they wanted to challenge our government on security, the economy, and corruption. Nowhere in our almost 6 months of communication did they mention that they were going to challenge my past. If that had been their plan, ethically and professionally, they were supposed to inform me so I could prepare my response. But that's okay. Ethically, that's on them, not on me. I refuse to swallow the pill of Mehdi's opposition research-style journalism. And even today, if you carefully compare what he read as quotes from organizations and groups, you will see that many were inaccurate and some were outright fake news. But I will leave that for another day. As for what I said about President Tinubu in the past, I am glad those were things I said when I was in the opposition, saddled with such zeal. It is all politics. Half of Donald Trump's cabinet is made up of people who once spoke against him, and quite a number of people in our own cabinet also spoke against President Tinubu in the past. Those things do not bother him if you care to know. Of course, Rufai, you know that Nigerians are not buying it, and social media has made sure of that. The clips are damning, and the phrase "I never said that" is now a punchline across the country. And I'll take Gray's tweet. He wrote, "Daniel Bwala, this isn't a press statement. It is a confession of moral bankruptcy. By saying your past attacks on Tinubu were just politics, you admit you were either a liar then or you are a hired gun now." Which is it? Principles aren't a jacket you change because the weather in the State House is nicer. You're upset Mehdi Hassan didn't warn you. He bring up your own words, bro. An intellectual doesn't need a script to defend his character unless that character is a fiction. We already know your 2027 script. When this administration ends, you'll be back on TV saying, "I was just doing my job," while pivoting to the next bidder. You aren't defending the government. You are defending your paycheck. You didn't go to head-to-head to represent Nigeria. You went there to audition for a man whose values loyalty over truth. You claim you have brave defense, but all we saw was a man drowning in his own archives. And this is another post on X from George. I believe he's from Ghana. He wrote, "I watched this interview of the Nigerian politician with Mehdi Hassan on Al Jazeera, and all I can say is sorry to our Nigerian friends. I know African politics can be shameless, but Nigerian politicians seem to be beyond shameless. I sincerely can't imagine how they must feel watching that interview." Well, you know what? Daniel Bwala has now released a clip which fact checks key moments from the interview, debunking some of Hassan's claims as well as on Nigeria. Let's take a look.
Nigeria is a proud, sovereign, independent nation, a powerhouse in Africa. So why did you just let Donald Trump and the United States bomb your country on Christmas Day?
The United States government did not bomb our country. The decision by the U.S. government was anchored on the intelligence sharing between Nigeria and the United States and the agreement on the operation.
You have a history of not hitting terrorists and hitting civilians. You know that, right? Your country.
I'm not aware.
Oh, well, on December 21st, the Nigerian Air Force said that they handed over compensation to people who were hit in an accidental airstrike on Christmas Day 2024. Do you just bomb every Christmas?
When and when?
Christmas Day 2024 and Christmas Day 2025.
I dispute that fact.
We'll take it up with the Nigerian Air Force. President Tinubu said in August, there is no more corruption in Nigeria. That's a ridiculous thing to say, is it not?
We investigate any case of corruption, not just in the defense, but anywhere in government. This administration has had lots of people who are in government, either sacked or investigated and being prosecuted. The resolve of our administration in dealing with corruption is obvious.
Why did he say there's no more corruption?
You probably read him out of context.
No, I didn't.
No, read exactly what he said. You're cherry picking. How can someone just stand and say there is no corruption in Nigeria?
It is getting clearer to the people. We have more money to the economy and no more corruption. Full stop, close quote.
Good. So this is the context.
The reform that I've embarked upon since I took over in Nigeria has been very impactful. I can beat my chest for that. It was initially painful, but today the result is blossoming. It's getting clearer to the people. We have more money to the economy. No more corruption.
This is terrorist scum.
Right.
And every camp got decimated. But a lot of investigative reporting on the ground shows that few, if any, combatants were killed. Some bombs landed in empty fields. A local leader in one of the districts said, the same militants we knew are still there, loitering around our communities.
No, there were killings of terrorists.
That's not what local leaders
So I can call local television that testified. Arise News, Channels Television, TV, as well as the cost of living.
You mentioned school. 20,000 schools in Nigeria have been shut in the last few months because of these kidnappings.
Into
why
politics.
Deloitte say they have no record of him
you
working
remember he was a senator.
Tunde, why does Deloitte say they have no record of the man working for them?
That is not the right thing.
Waiting patiently.
As a fact check, Deloitte denied that they said he never worked for them.
The Deloitte trained me as an accounting firm. No one has attested to my record, a standing record. I got to the pinnacle of my career. In the private sector. Who among them can brag about?
All right, Rufai, over to you.
See, I don't have anything against people doing their job when in opposition. But what you're going to do with facts. The problem with Bwala is there were lots of embellishments while I was in opposition. And when you do embellishments, when they say eat your word back, because those words were not based on facts, then you start to run away from them. An instance, do you know that Fried Tribal issued a statement yesterday as regards the Tinubu wanted to use militia to hurt us, thing, death threats on my life? Frank Tribal said that when he was in their campaign, Bwala did say that they should issue that statement, spinning it, and they told him that they don't want the political theatrics before he still finally went ahead to say it. That was not based on facts. As regards the Deloitte one, Mehdi was quoting, was a response to a subpoena. I can read it for you, for sake of empirical facts. And, okay, so, however, in response to a subpoena around September 2022 seeking blah, 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 Deloitte responded in a letter, September 20, 2022, saying that we have no records that the president is in our system, and as such, we have no employment records for them. Because Bwala came back to fact check him and said it was wrong. Thirdly, like I said, Mehdi didn't even do his job well, because there was so much. How will he explain, even if you give Tinubu 30 years, nothing will work? Then he goes on and on and on and on like that. And that's why I see, when people are doing opposition, stick to the facts. Empirical facts. And the question also, and that's why I'm not surprised. You see, because I don't like it to be about myself, but when he came here that day, this was the same question we posed at him, that some of his supporters were deceiving him and saying, yes, he answered the fire back. Because we say you have no integrity. But these were the things you said, and now you're saying he's in opposition. Politics does not mean you lie. So does it mean that you were telling porkies to the people you were telling those things to? This was the same you that came out to say Tinubu didn't do anything in Lagos, he collected a tax. The last point I want to make, based on all his fact check, is just cherry picking, and the cherry picking are never based on empirical. Because that video, the verbatim point Mehdi made, that the president said there was no corruption. Yes, there was no corruption. Yes, they've been able to now, because it was a day after, they now retracted by saying there was a contest to the matter, that they were talking about the oil sector, no corruption in the oil sector. Let's even press it further. No corruption in the oil sector. Wasn't the regulator in the oil sector sacked because Dangote, a player in the oil sector, brought about allegations that he funded school of his children above his pay grade? Till today, they killed that Farouk case.
No investigation.
No investigation, nothing, because he's been taken away. So when you say, oh, the context was there was no corruption in the oil sector, what was that?
All right.
So you see all of these things, it just shows that we should be careful. We should be able to have a strong level of conviction and all of that. Bwala is my friend and my brother. I'm saying, yes, we don't agree on many things today. You get, tomorrow, I will keep speaking on my side, we might agree on some things, we will still talk again.
All right.
But for the interest, when you are doing opposition, do it and stick to the facts. Because you see life, those that you are quickly, this, that, you might still come back. And that's what I was saying the last week, that this one, that some people are saying, opposition will not hear you. You forget that the person in opposition yesterday can be your ally today. Who will ever have thought that Rufai and Peter Obi will be on the same camp?
All right. Dr. Abati, you were a spokesman to former President Goodluck Jonathan. I'd like for you to share with us some of your thoughts on, the saga that unfolded over the weekend.
Okay. The first thing is, as a spokesperson, it's not every platform that you go to. You choose your platform wisely. In this particular case, I think there is an error of judgment on the part of Daniel Bwala. He said in negotiation about the interview took about 6 months, and he was told he was going to address specific subjects about the performance of the Tinubu administration with specific emphasis on security, poverty, and corruption. But then he got there and he was ambushed. Okay, now that excuse does not wash. If he had been following the program stated by, anchored by Mehdi Hassan, he would know that he's a very biased, conflicted, controversial anchor. People say it is style, but some people will say, well, it's bad journalism. If we check his history, you see that he tends to turn his guests into a straw person. He tries to lie by omission, and he tries to intimidate you. Now, some people will say it's style, but it looks like bad journalism. Because this inquisitorial approach, once you already have an opinion about the subject, why invite the guest?
Yes.
You might as well stay on the screen and express all opinions yourself. He has had issues with regard to abortion, with regard to LGBTQ communities, with regard to Gaza, with regard to his mischaracterization of Muslims. And so he himself is as controversial as anybody else can be. Now, if you know that this is the character of the anchor, you are not duty-bound to go there. There are many people who say, no, this particular anchor, because of his style, because of his offensive journalism, we will not go there.
Yeah.
So he made himself available. So you cannot go there now and be talking about contest. Half of the time, the anchor didn't even allow him to speak. So if he had done his homework, he will not go to that channel to go and talk. The second thing, I hope he will learn his lesson. It's also that the internet never forgets.
No.
If you say you were in the opposition, you said certain things about President Bwala Ahmed Tinubu, something that is even known to everybody in Nigeria, anybody who can just fact check anything. You don't then go there and say, I never said that. I never said that. If you said it, own up to it.
Yes.
You don't need to say it is a contest. So the manner of his response is also something, that has infuriated people and that has given opportunity to persons who have been critical of his work with the Tinubu administration, with his lack of consistency, with his lack of principle. It is what has given them the ammunition to say, well, this is the thing about Daniel Bwala. Yeah. But he has collected the embarrassment with his chest. I hope he has learned his lessons. In his commentary, he didn't say he has learned any lessons. He needs to learn certain lessons about that job and to make sure that he doesn't make that kind of mistake in the future. However, I think the Nigerian media is also part of the problem. We create these people. Any dumbbed that comes around that wants to speak on television, you invite them, you give them platform because you are also looking for guests, and then they become whatever they want to become. They use you to climb, and then they turn around and talk derisively about local anchors.
Local TV
anchors. Yes, we are supposed to be local TV anchors. So we take out of the blame. The media in Nigeria must learn, to choose wisely also in terms of the kind of people you give your platforms to and that you iconize. When they go to international TV, those ones, who also have biases, who have prejudices, as Mehdi Hassan showed clearly, the word I would like to use would be racist, but I don't think I want to go that far. Then they get exposed because they don't have respect for you. But here in Nigeria, we tend to pamper people. Anybody who knows next to nothing, who wants to talk, you put the microphone in their mouth and they suddenly become superstars.
No, but it's content. It's content.
It's content.
It's not context. It's content. It's content. We need content.
Okay.
Content.
Thank you for teaching me.
Daniel Bwala has taught us context, but he went on to thank, Mehdi Hassan, saying that, he also praised him, saying that he's a good journalist in that statement that he went. Well, Ayo, you saw that he brought out, a fact-checking video, to say that Mehdi is, biased as well. Your thoughts on the saga, really quickly?
Just for that, let me just take a sip of water.
Is there water in that? Or is for decoration?
Let me have a sip of water. Let me just say that, very simply put, that was an international embarrassment. Whatever the reason was, it was an international embarrassment. And for someone who is supposed to be, or is the special advisor to the president and a spokesperson for the president of Nigeria, the Nigeria of Africa, that was a very poor outing, particularly because a few things out there. And I think this interview has made us see that we are beginning to redefine politics and what should be the standard of politics, whereby opposition is who can lie the best. Opposition politics is said to be, let's sweep it under the carpet because while he was doing all that, he was in opposition, so he was allowed to say anything. There's nothing around, a well-done research to challenge fact for fact. It's about personalities, insulting persons, which we decried during the last election cycle, where you keep attacking the person and you leave the issues. And that's what we keep talking about, that the standards have fallen. And that's why I said it was a representation of what the standards are currently. Then the reason why it also thrives, OG, is because there are no consequences. Sometimes some people who have spoken like this and cross-carpeted have been rewarded with an ambassadorial position. So if you talk like this, just make sure that you get to the good side at the end of the day and you'll be all clear. That is not the kind of politics we should be pushing for in Nigeria of today. And just to mention that this is also a case for those people who would die on the line for certain political parties. At the end of the day, they will go and bring somebody from the other party who insulted them, who denigrated them, and let them come and take on positions. And that's why there's discontent among some of the strong followers of a particular party, because they're saying that we stayed with you in the trenches. We didn't say all these bad words against you, but yet we didn't get any reward, in quote, political appointments. It is those who were open enough to insult you that have come now and are taking up all these positions and come up. Is the president saying that there was nobody who was faithful during his presidential campaign, who didn't say any of these things about him that could have been his spokesperson. Yeah. Why did he have to go and meet somebody who spoke about things that he can no longer defend post-election? That's what we're talking about. Lack of integrity, lack of consequence. It's quite a shame for the state of our politics in Nigeria, and that's not how we should be defining it. Opposition politics is not a cesspit of lies and deceit. We should still have some form of integrity in our nation, despite how bad we think our politics is.
If I wanted to say
May the soul of Onokpasa continue to rest. You know, these were some of the concerns of Onokpasa.
Yeah.
Today, I remember him. I honor his memory. We might never be on the same side of the argument.
Okay.
But these were some of the things he pointed out before he passed.
All right.
People like Onokpasa that worked and that came here, how were they rewarded?
Those are the questions. Those are the questions. I mean, we have dealt with this story at length. I mean, this is an abridged version of what's trending today.